Welcome back to Chit Chats, everybody. My name is Antonio.
And my name is Quentin, and let's have a chit chat.
All right, we got it. Thanks, Quentin.
Cool. No problem.
Before we get started here, I just want to break the fourth wall a little bit and say that this is our second time recording this because
Yes, it
I was
is.
stupid the first time and didn't notice that my audio wasn't picking up until about 10 minutes in. So that's fun. Anyway, how are you doing today, Quentin?
I'm doing perfect.
That's good.
Amazing.
So normally, for those of you watching, you know that normally Brennan is here with me and he's like my co-host for these episodes. But, today I just told him, I was like, hey, I don't like you. I don't really want you to be in this episode. And, honestly, I don't know if I want you in any future episodes. So I kind of just pushed him away and Quentin was there. He saw me
I
do it.
was. Yeah, it did not go well. Brennan was in
It was pretty
tears.
ugly. Yeah. But it is what it is. That's just how we do things in the business.
It's business. That's just how it works.
Yep. That's how mafia works. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. So we got Quentin here today for a very special episode where just doing it. It's just me and Quentin. Quentin.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you who don't know, for the past year, we've been playing the game Dungeons and Dragons.
That is correct.
For a while.
Mm-hmm.
Quentin has been our esteemed dungeon master in these games.
Esteemed, thank you.
Yeah. Would you say you're pretty well equipped with the game of Dungeons and Dragons, Quentin?
Yeah. This was my first campaign being the dungeon master, and I think a lot of people in the Dungeons and Dragons business, the Dungeons and Dragons community, would say that it's very difficult to be the dungeon master, especially if it's your first campaign and your first time just doing Dungeons and Dragons at all. But I think I had sort of a rough start, but I think I really got used to it, and I think I can do my job pretty well.
Yeah,
and it's really fun for me.
I'd say so. I'd say you've done a pretty good job considering you didn't have any background playing before we started last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've done a really good job. I think you've kind of I can see your growth from when we first started.
Thank you.
Till now. And even back then, I think that, considering I had never played Dungeons and Dragons either, I had no frame of reference of what it was like. I thought the games went pretty smoothly. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But today, I thought it would be fun if I sat down with you and did a little interview about your experience being a dungeon master and playing Dungeons and Dragons in general. So without further
Sounds good to me.
Let's get this thing started again.
Let's have a chit chat.
Yeah, let's have a chit chat. Exactly. There you go. Okay, so Quentin.
Mm-hmm.
So remember, you're answering this for the first time, so you
can
repeat
for the first time.
What got you interested in Dungeons and Dragons in the first place?
So originally, it was sort of an idea. Because I had some friends come from Canada to visit me and a group of friends. And one of the Canadians actually frequently does D&D and would like to talk about it a lot. And the friend group from Oregon, we were talking about it and we were like, yeah, this sounds fun. But like I said earlier, it was originally an idea. We're just like, if it were to happen, that sounds really cool. We don't even know who would be the dungeon master. We don't know who would even be in it. Mm-hmm. But it was originally just an idea. I think about a year later, though, we sort of just started committing. We're like, actually, let's do this. We don't really have anything to do. We were really bored of all the video games that we had. A lot of COVID, pandemic, a lot of the movie theaters were closed. We just wanted to find something to do. Mm-hmm. So we decided to get together and try some Dungeons and Dragons. I decided to be the dungeon master because I think I was the most willing to do it out of the group. I'm not saying a lot of people were forcing me up to it, but I sort of wanted to do it and it didn't seem like anyone really wanted to do it. So I sort of just decided to be the dungeon master. Right. And that's how it all really started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and I remember when you guys originally approached me to be a part of it. To me it was kind of completely out of the blue because I'm not really like I don't know the friends from Canada as well.
Yeah,
So I wasn't there for the original discussion. But when it just like I had known what D&D was, and when you guys were just like, "Hey, we want to play D&D. Do you want to join?" I was just like, "Screw it, yeah, sure." I think it
yeah.
was just something that I wanted to try. That I was like, I want to try this out and see how it is. And as a player, I think it's been really fun. Like I said, I think that I've enjoyed the scenarios that you've presented for us as the dungeon master. Um,
Thank
and
you.
I think everyone else has too. I think. Would you say like you've gotten pretty good feedback about it from me and everyone else since we've started?
Yeah, I think the feedback was very helpful.
Mhm.
Um, of course, since we're all starting D&D and we're not really sure what to expect, I think it's very hard for myself and the rest of the party to sort of come up with some criteria, or not some criteria, but some things to work on because we're really not sure um, what the dungeon master, what an average dungeon master does that I don't.
Mhm.
I think one of the things I could work on would be the role playing aspect, but besides that, um, I think I think I do a pretty well job as the dungeon master, and I've heard a lot of feedback from the party saying that I'm doing just fine, which makes me happy.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think considering like this is our really only frame of reference, like I don't really have any complaints. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um,
I was worried that my I wouldn't have enough creativity to do it, but seems like it's working out so far.
Yeah, no, I think I actually I'll notice when we play how you'll present a scenario because I know that obviously there's a lot of pre-written material
Mhm.
in Dungeons and Masters or Dungeons and Masters Dun- Dungeons and Dragons.
Mhm.
And so there's a lot of that kind of pre-written conceptualized stuff for you to work off of.
Yeah.
But well I like we'll play a session and then after the session is over, we'll like talk about it and we'll be like, man, I really liked when we fought these really cool like shark monsters, for example, in the last session I remember. And then you'll just say like, yeah, that was completely like I came up with that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then I'll be like, wow, that was really cool. Like I really felt like that was something that was pre-written for you that you just presented to us. But that shows like how natural it felt. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think it's
Originally, when we first started, when like I said earlier, it was a little rocky. I was reading straight from a book. It
Mhm.
was called like Dragon of Icespire Peak, which
Right.
was a starter dungeon master book for people who are first starting Dungeons and Dragons. And I was just reading straight from it, completely linear. I didn't add anything. I didn't homebrew anything, and it was really boring. Like,
Mhm.
I think that was the intention of the book, so you could add on to it. But I wasn't very comfortable with adding on to it, so I just read straight from the book, and that's just how it worked. But I think starting from like session 3 or 4, I started adding my own stuff, and I noticed that um, the adventures start becoming more alive and not just linear and boring. And
Definitely.
I found that very fun. So I started just straight up homebrewing a lot of stuff from now on.
Hmm. And
And yeah,
you think I think it's worked out pretty well. Like I don't feel like you've homebrewed anything that like you would come across, or at least as a player, it doesn't seem like anything that you homebrew. We really run into a problem where it doesn't seem to work. You know what I mean? I mean,
yeah,
and that's coming from a player. At least nothing comes to mind.
yeah.
Like you might
I think,
disagree, but
yeah, I think the funniest thing that the party seemed to complain about, this just came to mind. I didn't even homebrew it. It was a part of the book, but the funniest thing was there was this ice dungeon temple area that was sort of the end of um, the first like campaign, and the doors didn't have any handles, so it was sort of like a push system,
yeah.
and everyone
It's,
just freaked out. They're like, "Why is there no handles on this door? This is stupid. It's a dungeon." And I'm like, I'm sorry. I guess I should have homebrewed some
the
better
handles on the
architecture or
door.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
my bad.
Well, when that's like the one, like complaint that you can think of, I think that that means that it's gone pretty
Yeah,
well. You
and
know
I
what
didn't
I
even
mean?
homebrew that. That was just a part of the book.
Like it literally said like, because I remember this, it literally said like the doors do not have handles, something like
Yeah.
that. They clarified that.
When Yeah, for every dungeon, there's like a brief description in the book. That is, there's a brief description of like what, like the how lit the dungeon is, how tall the ceiling is, and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
it specifically stated that none of the doors have handles; they were all push.
Mhm. And that did not fly with
Yeah,
Dark
no,
Souls.
that did.
That's not
I
okay.
was just like, okay, I'll remember that. I don't see how this will be important at all. But apparently, to the party, they're like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, no. That was
Yeah,
that was the bottom line, dude. Like,
yeah,
could not handle that.
but it was still
Well,
fun.
yeah, no, I still think it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So what would you say is like your favorite like aspect of being a dungeon master?
Uh oh,
If
geez.
you could pick any aspect of it.
Yeah, no. I think just seeing people play your story, just in a very unique way, like seeing people enjoy what you created for them, what scenarios you brought to them, saying, "Oh, this is cool. Oh, I like this part." I think that's the coolest part, is because I'm making this story of what I think would be a very cool scenario for the party,
Hmm.
and having the party reciprocate those feelings by saying, "Yeah, this is really cool." I think that's my favorite part.
Hmm. Yeah, I think, and I feel like we probably could give you more feedback than we do. I mean, I feel like we obviously are like, hey, that was really fun, and we say that, but I
Mhm.
feel like I guess we're not as like, you know, um, we don't really give you like constructive criticism, I guess, as
Mhm.
much, but like, yeah, I think that's just mainly because we don't really have like any, you know, criticism to give. You know what I mean? Like mostly it's
Yeah.
been like it's been a positive experience, so I feel like that it just ends up us just like mainly expressing positive
Mhm.
reactions to it, you know.
And although constructive criticism is nice, I don't think we should really stress out about it so much right now, because I think right now I'm still improving every session on
Right.
being a dungeon master. So I still think I know where my weaknesses are, and I'm still or trying to strengthen them right now.
Hmm.
So I think if there were to be constructive criticism, it would be nice, but I don't think we should really be in a rush. I don't think we
Right.
should really force anyone for it. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's like as long as we're progressing at a good pace and we're all kind of like improving together, like
Hmm.
I think that that's the best way to go about things. Um so what would you say is the hardest aspect of being a dungeon master?
So far, role playing, getting into the characters that I've created, and because I've given a lot of the characters a personality, and trying to act out that personality has been difficult for me. I think most of it is just an embarrassment. I'm trying to overcome that, because I think I can, when I create these personalities, I sort of already know what they're going to say and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
having voices, acting out as their character, being asked questions that I didn't even think would happen,
Hmm.
or I didn't think they'd be asked. I think it makes it very difficult trying to, like, improvising a scenario where like there's two paths ahead of you,
Hmm.
and it's like left or right, but instead the party decides to climb the walls. I think I can improvise with that pretty well.
Hmm.
But like if you're at a merchant and you ask to buy their shop, I think it would take a little bit more thinking time for me to think of what the appropriate reaction for that merchant would be.
Yeah.
Um, because sometimes a merchant would be like, "No, this is my legacy of my family. I'm not selling this." But other times they'd be like, "How much?" You know,
Hmm.
and what happens to the party if they did buy a random merchant's shop or
Hmm.
whatever?
Definitely. Like
Yeah.
you can like I feel like you can create like a million scenarios in your head of what you think we would say, but at the end
uh,
of the day, we could just completely pull something out of left field.
I know.
You know what I mean?
It happens a lot, but I
Mhm.
think I'm getting better and better with the whole role playing aspect.
Definitely,
I
yeah.
think that's something we could improve just as a group, is the whole role playing thing, because it seems
Right.
I don't think a lot of us really act as our character.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if that's not what we want to do, that's fine. But I
I
think
do
it could
think
make the Senate or the campaign a little bit more fun.
No, I agree. I feel like that's something that I've never like fully considered. You know what I mean? Like whenever
Hmm.
we play D&D, I'm more or less just, going along and just kind of like, being myself, but like, still kind of
Hmm.
like trying to involve myself in the scenarios. But I think like acting more as like your actual character. For me, it's like I guess I just sometimes forget that like I'm playing as a character and not just myself with like these powers and these
Yeah,
weapons and stuff. So I think like adding that aspect into it would make it a lot more immersive and thus I think more fun. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So yeah, no, I think that definitely something to consider for a lot of people because I'd say I'm not the only person who's like kind of had that
yeah.
sort of experience. Um,
I agree.
so how do you prepare for a Dungeons and Dragons session? Like before we play, like what kinds of things do you do to kind of like get it ready for us?
I create very, very general notes. Sometimes with if if then situations, like if the party does this, then do this. If the party decides to do this instead, then do that. But otherwise, I try to create very, very general notes,
Hmm.
because, like I said, if the party decides not to do something, and I created this entire path that just like goes from beginning to start, but if they don't choose that option, then I have nothing else to work with.
And
So
then
I
you
try to
wrote
create
you wrote
very,
all of that stuff for nothing,
yeah,
essentially, right? Yeah.
yeah. I there
Well, not
have
for
been
nothing, but like
moments,
you know,
yeah,
like
there
it's
have
like
been moments. Oh, sorry, continue.
no. I'm sorry. I no. I was just like I feel like even if you do write like a whole scenario and we don't end up like
Uh,
necessarily going down that path, that doesn't necessarily mean it's useless. Like you could still
yeah,
try to incorporate it somehow, but I could see how it would still be like, well, I did all this work to then not be have it be fully realized. So I could see how that would be frustrating. So I think doing
uh-huh.
general notes is a good way to go about things.
Yeah. I tried doing very linear notes at the beginning because, like I said, I just wrote down what the book told me. And the
Hmm.
books are strangely linear, even though they're like the authors are Dungeons and Dragons professionals, but they are very, very linear.
Hmm.
So it's been a hassle trying to sort of make my own homebrew off of what they're giving me, since it wants the party to go in a certain path, but I'm trying to make that path more general and
Right.
more forgiving. Like, just because I can still design a beginning to end path where I just want this party to do all that stuff,
Hmm.
but it doesn't mean that one option will stray them off. Like just because they didn't talk to the merchant doesn't mean that they still won't end up finding the path, or like they hear a scream from the path or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, preparing general notes is what I mostly do. Creating visuals. I think a lot of dungeon masters don't actually like have visuals for the party.
Hmm.
Besides, like, so I've seen some dungeon masters have like figurines,
Right.
which is cool. I mean, that's their preference, but I sort of do like a slideshow thing with a TV. Um, Sometimes I show a map. I've been showing a map for most of the sessions, but sometimes I
Hmm.
don't show a map, showing how the enemies look, which can block some imagination because you're being presented what the enemy looks like. You don't get to imagine what like a bipedal shark monster pirate would look like,
Right.
because I'm sort of showing you this photo. This is what I want you to see,
Hmm.
which can block the imagination, but I still find it very, very helpful, to sort of show the party what they're going against. And sometimes I do want to show you something to how it looks in a specific way.
Hmm. I think there's value to that. Like as much as I think, and it's like sort of like playing a video game. Like you know, even if you are being presented with what the creatures that you're fighting against look like right in front of you, like I still feel it kind of like it grounds the experience a little bit to a point that I don't think takes away from the experience. You know what I mean? Like you're still
Mm-hmm.
feeling immersed in it, and I do think there is value to like imagining that sort of stuff on your own, but I have no problem with the slideshows. I think that you can have a lot of fun with them. actually. And I see that you do, definitely.
The gummy bear event, the
Yeah.
gummy bear encounter.
Oh, the gummy bear encounter. Yeah.
That was a April Fool's encounter. It was very fun to do.
Yeah. That one was fun because that was not only it was April Fool's encounter, but that was like the encounter right before like the big boss, I think. I think it was like
Yes,
right before we fought the dragon that we had been leading up to in our campaign. Um,
yes.
so like that kind of stuff, like that's just fun to see that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Because it's one
Mm.
thing for you to just say like, "Oh, a gummy bear attacks you," but then when
Yeah.
when then we turn our heads to the screen and we just see like this monstrous gummy bear, I think that just like it just adds to the experience so much. So
I also think at the beginning of the animation, the original encounter was like something else, but then the gummy bear like launched it off a bridge or something, and
that's
then
right. I remember that.
yeah,
Like it was like a fake out.
yeah,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly. But
And
yeah, I had a lot of fun making that.
yeah, and I think that's like the value of doing slideshows in particular is that you can like oh shit knocked over my leg. You can incorporate like animations like that and stuff.
Yeah,
Um, so I've enjoyed that aspect of it too. Um, yeah. So would you say like notes and slideshows like that's like your main sort of way to get ready?
yeah, I think that's really all there is to it. Just
Mhm.
having the notes for the story that you're trying to portray, and just having a slideshow.
And I feel like that alone is like a good amount of work like to prepare. You know what I mean?
And
Like I see the amount of notes that you've taken, and it's like straight up like a class, dude. Like you're taking notes for a
yeah,
class, which is like it's admirable, like that you put that much work.
thank
Because I
you.
feel like if you didn't put as much work, or I feel like if you did put less work and like kind of like more bare bones stuff, we would notice
Mm,
that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like it's very much appreciated.
cool.
Um, so kind of straying away from like specifically how it is to be a dungeon master in the grand scheme of D&D, what would you say your favorite class is and why?
My favorite class. Oh man, I really when it comes to classes, I don't really like the class as a whole. I like
Mm,
what you can do with the class because with the
gotcha.
fighter, a fighter is a very broad term for like anyone who really uses a weapon that isn't necessarily a barbarian.
Hmm.
Um, because a barbarian rages, they're angry, but a fighter is basically anything but that. I mean, sure, they still can be angry, which makes me think why wouldn't you just be a barbarian if like your character does get angry? But it's up to the player.
Hmm.
But like I said, fighter is such a broad umbrella term that I don't really even think I could say I like fighter. I like because as a fighter, you could be like a samurai, or you could be a knight, or you can be a lot of other things. But I think my favorite class route that you can really go down is I think the one I've been enjoying the most is a wizard.
Mm,
Right now, I've even though I'm a dungeon master, I've been making a lot of like character sheets for these
hmm.
characters that I don't know, I just felt like
Just
making
for
them. I was
fun.
like, I want to make this character, yeah, just for fun.
Hmm.
And I think one of my favorite ones is named Daichi Keen Dreamer, who is a wizard who invents like magical artifacts, and he's sort of trying to discover new elements, minerals to make new magical artifacts. And he's a wizard who uses a enchanted lever action rifle to as his magic focus to cast spells.
Hmm.
And yeah, his class is wizard, but I think what I've taken from him and sort of shifted him into because he's in the school of evocation. Is like my favorite part of D&D is that because just the class is such a broad term that you can do basically anything with them, and also multi-classing.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so I'm
forget
not
that
even
that's an
sure what
aspect
my
of it.
favorite class is.
So you don't really. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think my least favorite class is probably I have a least favorite.
All
It's
right.
probably Rogue.
Rogue. Yeah.
Yeah,
What
I
about the
think Rogue
rogue?
is my least favorite.
What about
Yeah.
the rogue? Do you is not that you're not too fond of?
I think just the whole sneaking around and sneak attack, surprise attacks things, I just find that very boring just
Hmm.
as a play style in any scenario. So I think I think it'd be very weird to see a rogue who doesn't do sneak attacks or sneaking
Mhm.
around, because that's sort of what their class is based
It wouldn't
around.
really feel like the rogue at that point.
Yeah, regardless of what route you take as a rogue, it would be very weird to see you not sneak around.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I think the rogue is my least favorite.
Gotcha. Okay. And so right now you're enjoying the wizard, so that's good.
I am enjoying the wizard. I was thinking about making. I also made a ranger who
Mhm.
is a celestial beast hunter, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about making funny enough, a rogue class um, who is a court jester,
Okay.
sort of. Yeah. So I'm sort of brainstorming that
I feel
character
like
right now, but I think that'd be kind of cool.
I feel like that's indicative of your feeling of the rogue is just
Yeah,
like
no, I don't like rogues, but I'm
seem
like,
like a
I want to
clown.
make this character.
Yeah. Well, I think that that's cool that you're even if you don't like the rogue, you're still exploring them because you might end up
Yeah,
getting more of an enjoyment out of it than you might think.
maybe so. I
Um,
doubt it, but maybe so.
maybe we'll see.
Because
Um,
I don't really plan on using any of these characters I make, so they're sort
right.
of just like characters that I think would be cool.
Yeah. Well, and on that topic, like, because throughout this whole time that we played D&D, you've always been the dungeon master, or at least from what I've seen. I like, have you done like other campaigns with other people where you've been a player?
I've been offered multiple times, which I'm really sad about, but a lot of scheduling issues with my work has caused me to not do that. And also, yeah, no, actually, that's really it. But I've been offered a lot, which I really wanted to do,
Hmm.
but no, this is the only campaign I've really done, and I've only been
Gotcha.
the dungeon master so far.
Gotcha. Well, you know, do you think you would prefer being a party member if you were a party member, or do you think you find being a dungeon master more enjoyable, and you still would even after being a party member? I know that you might not have
Oh,
much of a frame of reference, but
yeah. Well, I'm just thinking of the whole aspect of like, would I rather make a story for other people to play or experience someone else's story?
mhm,
Uh, I really like the idea of both. I think I would really enjoy seeing someone's creativity and seeing what story they made. But I also really like being able to create my own world with my own rules and my own stuff
mhm,
as well.
for sure.
Yeah, so I really can't pick a choice. Maybe my decision will change or my opinions will change it once I actually get to play a player. Maybe I'll be like, wow, this is actually really lame. I
Yeah.
feel like I have no
Well,
control over the story whatsoever,
I think it
which
depends on
shouldn't be
like
the case.
who's the dungeon master and like what story they're telling too, because I think that that definitely has an
Very
impact on
true.
whether or not you enjoy being a player or not. So,
Hmm.
yes, but if you were in like, a really cool story with really cool elements to it, I think you would enjoy being a
I
player.
think I would really enjoy it.
Yeah. Hey, someday I think it'll happen.
I hope so.
So, going back to our personal campaign,
Yeah.
what do you think as the dungeon master, what was like your favorite quest that we went on, or favorite like thing that we've done over the course of our sessions playing, whether that be to just watch or come up with or any of those elements?
Oh,
It was the gummy bear, wasn't
no, it was not the
it?
gummy bear. I think it'd have to be the Thunderbore fight that I homebrewed, where the party was to go to a shrine where they were trying to summon this humongous Thunderbore, which is in the dungeon or the Dungeons and Dragons compendium.
Mhm.
Gorthok the Thunderbore was not a character I made, but the way he was summoned and the environment around him I made, and it was very fun having the players enter the shrine where they were led to by a centaur. Yes,
Yeah,
centaur,
I
not a
remember
minotaur,
that. Mhm.
centaur. Yeah, and seeing like these inscriptions on the wall showing a thunder or showing a giant boar like electrocuting these stick figures and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
being able to explore it to eventually going up to um, the top of the cliff where there's like these huge stone monuments and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, and eventually like being able to fight the boar. I also homebrewed like because one of the I also homebrewed one of the party member Cody's, who is a dwarf who is worshiping this god called Kuranos,
Hmm.
which is the god of storms or something like that.
Hmm.
And I homebrewed the fact that like since there was this whole like lightning and thunder themed area, he was given like grace by the god and was given some like lightning powers.
Hmm.
Um,
That was dope.
and yeah, he was the champ. He was then declared like the champion of Kuranos. And then during the Thunderbore fight, there was another champion, not of Kuranos, but it was like a different thunder god where Cody and the other champion had to dish it out while the rest of the party fought a boar.
Hmm.
And as I was imagining the situation, I was sort of imagining like as a little kid where you have those little action figures that are sort of like bumping against each other. That's
Yeah,
how I was imagining the whole champions fight, dish it out, seeing who was like the better thunder champion and stuff like that.
yeah,
That was probably my favorite quest and scenario so
yeah.
far.
That was fun to be a part of, to see that all go down. Because I think I could speak for all of us when I was saying like we didn't expect that to go down in that way. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because at that
I
point,
think it was a big surprise when Cody got the powers.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was. Yeah, no, and but that kind of stuff is like I think the thing that like brings me keeps me pulled into playing D&D is like seeing that kind of
Yeah,
stuff
and
happen.
that's like one of the main rules as being a dungeon master. It's called like the rule of cool, where every once in a while you shower your party in like something really cool and to look forward to use, and that's what sort of keeps the party like still motivated to continue.
Hmm. Yeah, no, and I can say that it definitely kept us motivated to continue. So
Cool.
that was fun. Yeah, no,
I also really enjoy seeing like the party members' reactions, seeing like this magical artifact or powers being bestowed upon them, and like, whoa,
yeah.
this is cool.
It's like all of a sudden now Cody has like these powers to just like take off his arm and like
Yeah.
reuse that in various scenarios. Like
He
that
can
kind of
also
stuff is
fly now.
he
It's
can
also
fly.
very funny to imagine like a dwarf being able to fly and just like be up in the air and just
Yeah,
completely like electrocute things. And
this tiny little
yeah,
thing just flying and just like yeah,
yeah.
that kind of stuff. That's fun. So
Hmm.
that's cool. Um, so I think we are getting to the end of this interview.
Oh
Sadly,
man,
I know. It was just getting good. I know.
thank
But
you.
now that we're coming to a close, I just one last question I would like to ask you is for anyone watching who's interested in playing D&D or becoming a dungeon master or starting a campaign of their own, what advice would you have to give them that maybe you wish that someone told you before you started or just in general?
Oh,
What would you want to tell them?
don't be afraid to um, don't be afraid to make your own rules. There's the dungeon master's handbook as well as the player's handbook, which sort of give you a huge list of rules. But don't be afraid to like sort of shift them, make your own, or like completely change them or get rid of rules because
Mhm.
some rules can be a drag to your party, and keeping them around can demotivate the party and can make the can or the sessions a lot more boring.
Right.
And also, don't be afraid to homebrew.
Hmm. Yeah, because I think there's a lot of value in home brewing.
Yeah,
So, yeah, no, I think that's good advice. I think that
thank you.
inspires me even to,
Cool.
yeah, maybe someday I'll be a dungeon master and you'll be a player. And
Dungeon
hopefully,
Master Antonio.
yeah,
Yeah,
that'll happen someday.
cool.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. So yeah, I think that's going to conclude this interview. Um, Thanks for being a part of it, Quentin.
That was a nice chit chat.
Thank you. I'm glad you thought so. Did you have a good chit chat?
Yeah, that
'Cause I had
concludes
a good.
episode 34.
Yeah, 34, I
Okay,
believe. Yes.
cool.
Yeah. So, thank you guys for watching. You know, go start your own D&D campaign. That's the moral of this episode. Because each
And then
episode has
invite me to it because I really want to try.
Yeah, exactly. And then invite Quentin to it. Yeah. Although he's a celebrity, so he might not be available, but maybe.
Yeah. My
Maybe.
schedule's pretty tight. I definitely would have to squeeze in some things. So
Yeah. But if you're lucky, he'll join you.
yeah, you better make it worthwhile.
Yeah. You better. So
Yeah.
with that, see you guys in the next episode. Peace. Bye.
Hi. So I made a little bit of an oopsie daisies, and long story short, the episode of Chit Chats that you are about to watch is completely without visuals. I just simply forgot to capture them while I recorded this episode. My bad. Fortunately, I don't really think this detracts from the episode itself. These videos are kind of designed to be viewable either through literally watching them or through listening to them. So I don't think there's a lot of moments where we, really heavily rely on the visual component that we're talking about, especially considering this is mostly an auditory episode. So I don't think it'll matter too much, but I'm going to throw up a just a static image for the entire episode that hopefully will supplement the lack of moving visuals. So you get to use your imagination on this one. But yeah, stay tuned for next week when we will get back to not fucking up. It's going to be great.
So we get to
This is special.
Mm-hmm. I'll give you a nice little a cool special intro for you. All right. Well, okay.
Wait, Anthony doesn't know how to do that.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so the way that we start Chit Chats is we go around. So I start off by saying, "Welcome back to Chit Chats, everybody. My name is Antonio," and then we go around and say, "And my name is blank," and then the last person that says it, which would be you, because you're the special guest, would say, "And my name is blank, and let's have a chit chat." So
Is that how that works?
Yeah. So you would say, "And my name is Anthony, and let's have a chit chat."
Okay.
Do you think you can handle that?
Yeah. Let me clear my throat here.
Yeah. It's okay. Just take a deep breath. Don't feel too nervous.
All right.
You got this, Anthony.
You got this.
Hey, I'm Anthony. Let's wait. Did I fuck it up already?
A little bit.
And my name is Anthony, and let's have.
And my name is Anthony. Let's have a chit chat.
Yep.
There you go.
All right.
Okay.
All right,
Cool.
now who's going second? Actually, Skylar, you go second.
Oh, you okay? Yeah,
Okay,
Skylar, you
Skylar.
can go second, and Quentin, you go third.
Yep.
My name is Skylar. Let's have a chit chat.
No, you don't say. You don't have to say we're having a chit chat.
I
Only
think
Anthony
we should all say,
Oh.
and let's have a chit chat.
My name is Quentin, and let's have a chit chat. My name is Skylar, and let's have a chit chat.
Wait,
My
actually,
name's Anthony. Let's have a chit
do
chat.
that. Let's just do that for some reason. Okay. All right. So forget everything I just said. We're all gonna say, and let's have a chit chat.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay.
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 It's so stupid.
Welcome back to Chit Chats, everybody. My name is Antonio, and let's have a chit chat. I thought we were all gonna go.
Skylar,
Oh, I thought it was
Okay,
Skylar first.
maybe we shouldn't do.
I thought it was
you're supposed to go
Skylar first.
second.
My-
Yeah.
You know what? You know what? Because this is Anthony's first episode, let's not overcomplicate it. Let's just do
All
like
right,
a normal intro. We can do the scuffed one and another one. Okay.
Sure.
So Anthony, you were the only one that's gonna say, and let's have a chit chat. Okay.
Like at the end, or
Yeah.
Yep.
okay.
Here we go. So it'll be me, Skylar, Quentin, and then you, Anthony.
Okay.
Welcome back to Chit Chats, everybody. My name is Antonio.
My name is Skylar.
My name is Quentin.
My name's Anthony. Let's have a chit chat.
Woo!
All right, we did
We
it.
did it.
All right,
Yeah,
cool.
baby.
Flawless.
Flawlessly, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Flawless, yeah.
That was good. That was
That
definitely
was so seamless.
in the top 5 Chit Chats intros of all time. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
I can cut out the silence. It's okay. I'm not going to cut out the silence.
Don't cut out the silence.
No, it makes it more authentic. I don't want to lose authenticity. All right. So, welcome back to another episode of Chit Chats, everybody. We have two guests on the show today who have been in episodes before. We have Mr. Quentin Gonzalez. Thank you for returning. And we have Skylar Toohey also returning. Thank you for being here, Skylar. But for the first time ever, we have Mr. Anthony. Can I say your last name? Do you give me permission to say your last name?
Yeah, sure.
Anthony Camacho in the episode today. Welcome.
Woo!
It's actually Anthony Johnson.
I want Anthony Camacho to watch this video and be like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, what? I should have not even clarified that it was something else. I should have just played it off like it was Anthony Camacho and just not
Anthony
just
Camacho.
like just completely straight faced. Yeah. Well, we'll refer to you as Anthony Camacho for the rest of the episode. So anyway,
all right, sounds good.
Yeah.
Or Padilla, I don't care.
Or
Padilla, yeah.
Padilla. Wow.
Yeah.
Padilla, I mean.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. It's Padilla, sure.
Uh,
All right. So, guys, I called you here today because I want to talk about a little game you may know as Dungeons and Dragons, a tabletop game that you guys may be acquainted with in some capacity.
Remind me.
It's just a little game, kind of niche. Not many people know about it. It's a tabletop RPG where you role play as characters in a very mystical world, and there's combat, there's different characters, and honestly, I feel like if anything, you should explain this, Quentin, because we've actually done an episode in the past where I interviewed you about D&D. So why don't you kind of like give like your best explanation as to what D&D is? If you don't mind.
Sure. Okay. Dungeons and Dragons is a tabletop RPG, which means that most of the time it's going to be played in a physical format, or more of I should say an imaginative space where there isn't really any like video game or movie or like any sort of like media space that you play. It's mostly in the realm of imagination. Sometimes people use mats or whatever, but it is a RPG where people will create characters with intriguing backstories and other sort of things, and they have a game master or dungeon master sort of lead them through an adventure or story of some sort that either is a adventure or story that the game master made themselves, or maybe they're reading off of a module, where Dungeons and Dragons specifically tends to be in a more medieval fantasy space, where there are a lot of other TTRPGs that have like more sci-fi and stuff like that, but Dungeons and Dragons typically have, hence the name, Dungeons and Dragons, and you'll be dungeon delving, fighting dragons, fighting all sorts of monsters, and role-playing together, and it's all very fun. It's supposed to be a collaborative experience where the dungeon master tends to throw obstacles in front of the player's way, and the players have to work together to find a solution through it.
Yes. And specifically, Quentin, you are very well versed. Well, you've been, both a player and a dungeon master in the past. So you can kind of speak from both of those experiences. And Skylar and Anthony, you guys, I don't know specifically how much experience you guys have in terms of being a dungeon master, but I know that you have both been players in many a campaign before. And I basically just wanted to talk to all of you guys about like what just kind of like what that experience has been, because at the time that we're recording this, I think it's been about 3 years maybe since, like, I know that like Quentin and Skylar and I actually played for a little bit with you guys. It's been about 3 years since I remember we started. But Anthony, how long has specifically how long have you played now, would you say?
I'd say it'd been around like 3 years.
Oh, it's been about 3 years for you too?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so similar amount of experience. And Quentin, when I first interviewed you a couple years ago, it had been about a year, I think. But I kind of wanted to talk about maybe what with you, what has kind of changed, what things you've learned in that time period since the last time that we talked about it, and overall just different sort of experiences that you guys want to share. So I guess right off the bat, let's just start what got you interested in playing D&D. So Quentin, why don't you start? What made you interested in it?
Yeah, so for the longest time, especially when I was growing up, D&D was considered the nerdy thing. That's the bottom of the barrel, sort of sure, you can play video games, you could read books or whatever. You could be into Star Wars, that's nerdy or whatever. But once you hit Dungeons and Dragons level, that's when you're the dweebazoid. kind of guy.
Yeah, for
And I
whatever
remember
reason,
that.
it's like on another level, right? Or it seems
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, because the way a lot of times like media convey it is that it's like this super rules heavy, like nerd calculating event. And like I think the biggest example that I can think off the top of my head is how Big Bang Theory kind of conveys Dungeons and Dragons. In fact, there's even like a
Great show.
SpongeBob episode that conveys Dungeons and Dragons as well. So I remember for the longest time I was not into D&D because I just remember it was just this nerdy thing that I want to stay away from. Sure, I play video games. Sure, I like reading books, but like I'm not Dungeons and Dragons level of nerdy. That's just nerdy. And eventually, as I grew up, I was like, I want to try it. I want to see what it's like. I remember. Funny enough, I think my first introduction to it was Overwatch 1, sort of, where the voice actor of Jesse McCree, now known as Cole Cassidy, was like a very prominent voice. Is what everyone loved Matt Mercer's voice. And I was like, oh, Matt Mercer seems like a cool guy. And then I remember he was a part of a Dungeons and Dragons group known as Critical Role. And I was like, okay, so he's that kind of nerd. And I remember watching one of the episodes and I was like, it looks like they're having a lot of fun. And then I was like, well, I want to try it with my friends, see if we can get some fun out of it. And I remember going into it, I was like, I do not want to be rules heavy whatsoever. I really want to just be like, let's just try it. I am going to try not to read the rules too much and just go through with it. So I got the gang together to play Dungeons and Dragons. It seemed like no one really had too much interest in being the DM, so I kind of picked up that role. Which is fine. I like being the DM a lot, but so I picked up DM and we Dungeons and Dragons. That's a verb now, and that's kind of how it started.
Right. Yeah, and so
it was very long.
No, and that's okay. Well, I mean, like, and it is interesting because like you did kind of like take up that role, as the DM, and so like you've had like a lot of time to get that experience that not as many people might have. Skylar and Anthony, like you guys have definitely. I think like, would you say it's not a stretch for me to say that you've had a lot more experience being a player than a DM between the both of you?
For sure. I've only been a player pretty much.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, what about you, Anthony?
I think there's just like different perspectives. Being a DM is a lot different than just being a player. And being a player, like there's less to manage, basically. But that's just how it is as a player.
Well,
but you still take notes though.
Right. Yeah, and I think what's interesting is that no matter what side of the coin you're on, like there is like different types of work that goes into it. Like Quentin, we'll talk in a minute. We'll talk kind of like what kinds of things you have to do as a DM. But Skylar, why don't you for you, like what kind of things do you kind of have to provide as a player? Like what's your sort of role, or how do you see it?
So the player is supposed to provide like a perspective in the DM's world, because like without the players, like there's no way to progress, there's no way to storytell unless if you're just writing a book. There's they're just meant, I mean, and also like the perspective or the role of the player kind of depends, because like they could be heroes, they could be like they could be villains, it's just so on and so forth. That's,
and
I think it really sums it up.
Yeah, well, and there's different aspects of like players, right? Like there's there's different classes, there's different races, there's the whole concept of a character sheet, which kind of like makes each character distinct from one another, right? And so like that's from my perspective, as I would say I have a more limited viewpoint of D&D from you guys, but from what I can see, like there is a lot of that like individual kind of taste that you put into your own character that kind of it could be based off of the DM's world, but it kind of like adds a new sort of spin on it. Would you say that's fairly true? Yeah.
which most DMs usually tend to work into their world into their worlds, which it's really cool, like just for the player and for the DM to just have like just that sort of connection. I guess it's just fun. It's really fun to just it's storytelling together. That's basically it.
It's collaborative. Definitely.
And yeah.
And so Anthony, like what is like how has being a player been for you? Like what have you kind of like thought about it in your time being players in different campaigns overall?
Well, I've mostly been in Quentin's campaigns, so I've had a lot of fun as a player because I could just like go somewhere and just like talk to a random NPC and they're like, "Oh, hey, I'm Random Joe over here," and I really enjoy that because it's just so random.
I'm glad you didn't just say, "Yeah, I've been in a lot of Quentin's campaigns and they've all been pretty bad," you know. No, it seems like you guys like, because like you guys play a lot at our place, and I see that a lot, and it seems like pretty much all the time like you guys are either in like a kind of like a serious mindset, like you're very focused in, or you guys are just like laughing a bunch and just like having a lot of fun.
There's like a lot of like that like serious moments, and then there's a lot of like silly moments in the campaign,
right?
And I like that mix.
Yeah, well, it's cool to like see the serious moments that you guys have, because it kind of, to me, just like communicates that you guys are very invested in what's happening, and you guys are like trying to like really think through like the scenario that you're in. And I think that's like it's cool to like kind of find yourself immersed in this sort of like, you know, in this game that you guys are playing, you know, almost like it crosses the boundary of a game into like, you know, like you're envisioning as if it was happening for real, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and he really knows how to like paint a picture too in his campaigns, and I like that, like the way he describes stuff. Like most DMs should like do that, and it makes it a lot more immersive, so we can have those serious moments.
For sure. And Quentin, from your perspective, like being a DM, like you've taken up that role like for, you know, multiple campaigns, you know, like for campaigns that have run on for such a long time. Like what, you know, kind of starting out, what was that like, and how does that compare to like now after you've done it for so long?
Starting out was very chaotic. I think the first campaign I ran was a lot of everything. I don't regret it at all, but it was hard because I was still trying to get my bearings on what I wanted out of D&D. I couldn't really tell if I really wanted a more serious atmosphere. So I remember the first campaign going very chaotic, and it was very jumbled
experimental
everywhere.
For sure.
Yeah, it was very that's a good word, experimental, because I didn't have a good grasp on the rules. No matter how much I read the player's handbook or the dungeon master's guide, the rules still felt confusing to me, and it felt like I just really needed to like see it in action to really know how the rules actually work. And eventually, I think throughout that campaign, I tried getting my players to, because I remember in the beginning we kind of had our session 0 and we made our characters, and it was kind of just like, oh, this class hasn't been picked yet, so I'm going to pick this class, or oh, this race hasn't been picked yet, so I'm going to pick this race. And it felt like a lot of us were kind of just picking things that felt like not what we wanted, but what we needed for the whole composition of the party, which is fine if that's how we want to play. But
I can see how that throughout, I was like, that might have felt a little less like personal, or a little less.
It felt like there was no nothing being drawn, nothing being connected from the player and their character. Because it just felt like they were all just kind of, it was like when I was imagining them playing, it was just themselves. They were playing themselves, but maybe like in wizard robes, or they're playing themselves, but they were shirtless because they're a barbarian or something. And it just felt like I had a hard time disconnecting the player from the character. And I remember going, how can I try to help my players create characters that like feel like they're in there, feel immersive and stuff like that. And eventually, I learned these tools and techniques on how to like help people create backstories, help people create like characters, giving examples. And I think not just my players, but myself, we've all grown a lot ever since that first experimental campaign on how we create characters, how they can tie into the world. Because originally I was just reading off a book, a module for the campaign. So I had a harder time sort of feeling like the work was mine. Like I tried putting my own twist on it, and sure, it was fun, but it just didn't feel like it was my work. It didn't feel like I could tie my players' stuff into the story. And I still think modules are very fun. They're very interesting. They're created to sort of just like dive into something and feel the story out. And but what I wanted when I started my second campaign, that campaign was completely written by me, completely homebrew. And I wanted, my sole objective was I wanted to make a story that my characters had most of their, like they were the reason why the story was happening. That's what I wanted. I wanted this story to be about them. So I tried my best to do that. And I still think I still have a lot to learn, but I really enjoy being a DM. Like I think one of my favorite things about being a dungeon master is creating a story for people to enjoy. I think that's always been sort of something I've really enjoyed, is creating pieces of work for others to sort of consume. And I've been able to do that pretty well as a dungeon master, and I've been really enjoying it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I think is like so cool about like having that role as a DM, is that it is kind of like you kind of get to guide the scenarios, but also like, there is like obviously a lot of player involvement in how those play out. And I see that with you, like you will obviously have like things in mind, but you will kind of like take what the decisions that like your players will make, or like their characters, and you'll kind of like mold your vision into something that fits more with like what they're thinking.
Mhm.
And so like Skylar, for you, like what is that kind of experience like when you are like involved in a campaign that's made by Quentin? Like what is it like for you to kind of adjust or potentially like make a character, or adjust your character to kind of like fit in that role, or like what is that kind of like experience like?
So, okay, so going from campaign 1 to campaign 2, it was a bit of an adjustment because that was the first time I ever had to actually create a character with a backstory that actually like fit in the world. And so it's kind of hard because I mean, looking back on it, I'm not very proud of my backstory too much, but but at the time I was proud of it. It adjusting into campaign 2 was just a doozy. But as soon as, and also like for a while actually, I had a lot of I maybe still have character identity issues with him. So it's because I kind of like had that same philosophy of I was kind of just playing myself a bit, but just learning to adjust. And I feel like I'm not or what was the question again? Because I feel like
I mean, you're answering the question. I basically was just kind of like asking like how has it been like, like making a character in Quentin's world, and like how has that like sort of, just what has that experience been, at the end of it. And it sounds like, it sounds like it's definitely hard, like it's, like maybe in the beginning, or even like going to now, like there is kind of like a challenge in finding that that sort of division between playing kind of like a character that's similar to yourself, and or like more so trying to get into a character that's separate, like role playing essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say like you're definitely like have improved over time?
Oh, I feel like I've gotten so much better. Like even now I come up with character ideas and concepts, and I constantly think about new characters that I could play or want to play. Like everybody's got to start somewhere. Like how campaign 1 was. Quentin's start was brand new to DMing. Everybody didn't know how to play Dungeons and Dragons. My first campaign character was literally a mess. I was kind of.
I don't think you were alone. I don't think you were alone in that. I think we all, it was experimental. Like I said, we had characters that were just named kind of after ourselves. We had characters that were, named after memes. There was some growing pains.
And I just want to say that that's completely okay. Don't. Something I don't want people to take off of this is that creating a character should be difficult, and you need to put so much energy and effort into it. Mm-hmm. There's several tools that you can use to create a character, as well as just working with the DM. If the DM is well versed enough with DMing, they might be able to already have a backstory for you, and you just have to sort of fill in the lines. I do love the struggle. I barely play as a player, unfortunately, and I've always been wanting to, but I do kind of like the struggle of trying to create a perfect character, but that's completely not needed. You can, a lot of times I hear a lot of people say, oh, I want to try D&D, but I just don't know if I can really invest my time into it. But there are a lot of ways that you could just jump into D&D, especially with modules, character creations. There's pre-made character sheets that you could either use or just take inspiration from. D&D gives back as much energy as you put in. So you could spend hours working on this character or spend days working on this character, or you can just jump right in the day of, say, hey, I want to play this very angry barbarian man, and he just gets angry when everyone calls him small because he's a gnome or something. And boom, there's your character right there. You have, you have a personality, you have a character right off the bat. Or you could think of a character with a tragic backstory and stuff like that. It's really, the great thing about D&D is it's exactly what you want it to be, since there's no coding or rule or big rules on how you make your character. It's exactly how you want it to be. I do think my group definitely likes more role play intensive, so we do tend to want to make characters that have more oomph in their backstory. But D&D can be whatever you want it to be, and I think it's just as easy or as difficult as you want it to be.
Yeah, I do think for a while I kind of felt for myself personally there was more of a barrier to entry than I was kind of comfortable with, but I just thought that was kind of for me. But even looking back and kind of looking at it now, it's exactly like you said, D&D is such an expansive and sort of flexible game. You really can kind of play by your own sort of rules. And I think what's cool is you guys have, you can obviously play by your own rules, but you guys have kind of found your sort of specific play style that's kind of unique to your group, or in general, just how you guys like to play. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's that's okay. And that's part of the fun, is that you all kind of find the way that fits for your group. So I wanted to ask Anthony, what is the experience been for you being a player? I know that a big aspect of making a character is writing the backstory, kind of like Skylar mentioned, and Quentin talked about a little bit. What for you, what is writing a backstory like for you? What is and how does that kind of add to your character?
Remember my first backstory was very bad. I don't know if I sent it to Quentin.
Did Quentin? Did you work on it with him?
I remember him asking me quite a few questions, which is always appreciated. Is asking questions like, "Hey, does this fit for your world?" and stuff like that. So he did. Right. I remember him asking me a bunch of questions. Once again, he did send me a backstory for his first character, Isaac, but I don't know if this is the backstory he was talking about.
No, I meant before
Oh,
Isaac.
no, I don't think I ever received that one.
No, that one is very bad.
The rejected,
But I that was like my first one with
unreleased.
him.
Mhm.
It was online.
Oh,
Yeah. But I improved since then, and I always like to involve my character in the world, like his backstory and the character in general. Like to me, that's like very fun to do because it creates opportunities for the DM to like throw some stuff from his backstory at him.
And that's why you like
And
talking to. That's why, like in this case, like you wanted to talk to Quentin because you wanted to get his input about his world, so you could write your backstory kind of with that in mind, right?
yeah, just to be more involved with that character in certain like aspects.
Is it hard like creatively to come up with them, or is it kind of like once you kind of get the ball rolling, like it kind of comes sort of naturally?
It's kind of
What is that like?
Yeah, it's kind of both. I need like it just takes a little bit of time to get the ball rolling, and then once that goes, it gets easier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I find it very fun to like make a backstory.
Mm-hmm.
And but what sucks is that when I'm into the campaign now, I'm thinking, oh man, I have all these other character concepts now.
oh yeah.
You know,
Exactly, dude. I want to play them all.
that's the hard part about D&D, I think.
So it's kind of like it sounds like you find yourself, you have this character that you're kind of committed to, but you kind of want to like there's all these other ones that you want to like almost start on the side or alongside that one. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense. Skylar, would you say that's kind of you've had a similar experience with that?
Yeah, that's.
It's funny because even as a DM, well, I've always talked about how much I wanted to be a player because I have so many of these character concepts. But even as a DM, I always just like want to dish out a new character that I want to play so bad. Like even I love being a DM so much, but there is something different between being a player and like being able to be a character. Whereas a DM, I'm more of the overarching story and not really like a character that I can be a personal character too. So sometimes I think it's funny. This is kind of my coping for not being a player is I'll make a character and then I will throw it at the party as like an
Right.
enemy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that you do that because I always notice it's interesting just like from
Master Fighters.
it's interesting from a I guess audience perspective because I watching you guys kind of like get more and more into role play, like I hear you guys like put on like voices and kind of like demeanors that are different from like your own. And with Quentin, I notice you will like specifically like change your voice or the pitch of your voice a lot to like match whatever character you're trying to go for. Specifically, there's one character in particular that I hear you do quite often, and I always recognize him when he comes up.
Yeah, I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
He's like in every campaign that we do now. Like there's
he's a
always
reoccurring character.
Yeah.
Is that like? Do you guys find that is that hard? Is that like? Has it gotten easier to do that kind of thing? Like Quentin, for you, like because you probably have to do it the most because you're like playing all these different people because you're the DM. You're like playing all these NPCs. Like, is it kind of hard to shift between them all the time?
To be completely honest, well, yeah, something I've always had difficulty in is talking. I call it talking to myself when in reality it's like two different characters, but they're trying to talk to each other. And it just feels so weird to me. It's like being like, hi, stuff like that. Or like, you murdered my sister. I didn't do anything, something like that. That's something that's still a huge obstacle in front of me that I really need to beat. But so far I've been purposely trying to create, try to weave past those scenarios where I don't need to have two NPCs talking to each other like that because it just feels so weird to me. But it's definitely a big obstacle in my way that I need to get in front of it or need to get past. And another obstacle is role playing in general. I think as much as like I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone and talk, and I think I do a somewhat good job. I still really want to do more voices. Like I think voices make characters seem so interesting, and it really makes them stand out. And sure, I have that one go-to character that maybe I do well, but I still want to be able to just like swap between voices just like that. And even if, as Anthony said, Anthony wants to go talk to random Joe guy across the street, I want to be able to like prepare a voice for him right off the bat and make him be as interesting as a random Joe guy could be.
Yeah, he's not just any old Joe. He's random Joe.
Yeah, he's random Joe.
Random Joe.
Yeah, he's special. Yeah. What? So like, all right, let's go down the line. I want to hear like what your guys' like favorite aspect of D&D is, and maybe that might be similar between more one or more of you guys. But I want to like, if you had to pick like one reason for like someone else to join to like try out D&D, like what would you say? Like Sky, let's start with you. I want to hear from you first.
So I feel like the character customization and options are so like vast. Like you could create whatever you want. If you want to be a nerd, you could be a wizard. If you wanted to be a big strong guy, you could be a barbarian. There's literally like there's so much. Like the classes and races provide like this mold that you can easily put within the world, and it's that there's just so much variety. That's I like it, especially when I keep coming back to character concepts, like I said earlier, like with like what if I played this wizard, or I just thought of a cool sorcerer, or like a fighter. It's like there's in I also so we talked about how it's a little hard to start building characters. Like a little piece of advice that I've found that's helpful really quick is that it's easier if you just make the character like make the class or pick the class subclass and just map out what the race and stuff is before you even think about the backstory. So it just makes it so much easier. So yeah, that's my advice. And
so would you say overall the customizability of like your D&D experience is like what you would say is like your favorite aspect?
Yes, and also just being able to show off your character, show off what you've written for your backstory. It's just it's cool to like I'm excited whenever I get to show off my backstory for their campaign. So it's exciting. It's really cool to have an impact on what people play. Like I'm sorry, I'm going off a little tangent, but I really do appreciate how like our group is more role play intensive, because then it allows more like delving into each character, and I feel like we've taken the critical role pill. Like we are very role play intensive. Like maybe not to the to the quality of the voice actors, but it's still really fun.
For sure. Anthony, what would you say is your favorite aspect of the D&D experience?
I'm similar to like Skylar's view, like just making whatever character you want and just throwing it out there if the DM allows it. It's just is very fun. And just the story, like the role playing aspect, that's what also makes D&D like very like fun.
Mm-hmm.
And combat can be fun. Some of us aren't too into it, but a lot of us are into D&D combat. I'm kind of like all three. I like all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Just
so you're kind of just like all around, like the whole experience just makes
everything.
Mm-hmm.
Just I like eating everything there is to offer.
Gotcha. You get one of everything at the buffet. That's the Anthony way. Okay.
That's what D&D is like. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I got you.
That good old tavern perpetual stew. You just keep going. Get that.
Yep.
Made by the DM.
Yeah. And Mr. DM, what would you say is like your favorite aspect of D&D? Or do you
There's
just like
a lot. I like a lot of it, but I'm kind of tied between, as a DM, it's creating a story for people to enjoy. But I think my favorite part, like the thing that I think would sell, I could tell to someone who only wants to be a player or only wants to be DM or both, is the collaboration. I think just like there's so many things that you can do as like a group of friends, sure. But I think the collaboration of D&D makes it fun. You're all working together for a collective goal and you all just have a great time. It's like your characters can have a great time, your players can have a great time. Normally, like if the dungeon master is, in my opinion, having like what I think, if the players are having a good time, the dungeon master should be having a good time. And that's something that I think maybe a lot of people could take for granted, is that just being able to find a collective event that everyone could have a good time on. Like, sure, you can have those parties and get-togethers and play ruin friendships over Mario Party and stuff like that. But like, I think the collaboration of D&D, it's just all working together and having a great time. And I think that's my favorite part about D&D, is the collaboration, just the working together, all talking, all having a great time, all telling each other's jokes, bouncing off each other. It's all just, I think that's what makes D&D the greatest for me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would personally rather ruin friendships in Mario. But that's just me, though. Yeah. But no, D&D sounds I guess kind of cool. No. Okay, so now I want to just hear, like, what has been the biggest challenge for you personally, for each of the three of you, and like how have you overcame it, or like how are you kind of working to overcome it? So like, Skylar, what has been the biggest challenge for you?
So
if there is any.
So it was honestly learning the game, because it's just like there's a lot to learn. There's so many systems. Like we didn't even learn until like a year or two in, that you can only cast one spell per turn, which like, and then there's the spell rules it can be very complex for a new player. It's just there, but once you get past the learning curve and you start to understand the systems in the game and why they're there, like you can then or I feel like I've gotten to a point where I can think of like really great like ways to use the rules to my advantage, or like come up with cool class combinations that like that just work with, like they work really good in conjunction with each other. So it's the learning curve is there, but it's, if you just push through it, if you have a group of people who are also learning with you too, or people who can teach you, that's even better. So it's just I mean, you're playing D&D with a bunch of people. Like, I mean, hopefully they help you out. It's not like a free for all. It shouldn't be a free for all.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that's, I think, what's cool about like the collaborative effort is that, you know, whether or not you're new or you're all learning, or only like one of you is learning, like you're not alone, because obviously like you have a group of people that you're going through with. I think it's cool. So that's cool. Yeah. Anthony, what would you say has been your biggest kind of challenge in D&D?
I think voice acting, or actually role playing your character as well. It's been kind of hard to do that with, especially if it's a new character you made. You're like just feeling it out with that character. For me personally, I feel like druids are probably the hardest to roleplay as.
Is there a reason specifically for that?
Because I don't know how I could see them with like certain parties, you know, like certain parties like to kill a lot of things, and
they're just
I don't think
nature hippie people.
Yeah. They sometimes mesh well, but sometimes it's like, why are you here?
Okay, so
I do. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I do want to add on that it's another thing that's a little hard at first is like it can feel like kind of cringe to like try and voice act too, or get into your character at first, especially when you don't know the people, or like it just feel weird. But with the right group of people, you shouldn't have to feel like that. So yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
That's just my hard part, role playing.
Right. And how, like, do you kind of like practice, like what do you kind of do to kind of like role play better? Like, do you have any like techniques, or do you just kind of like practice?
I practice like the voices,
And
and
that could be like on your own time, or that could be just when you're playing,
kind of both, yeah. But mostly like you just kind of gotta like play as the character, like think what they would do, and that makes it easier, especially with what the DM throws at you. You can kind of just adjust that character
right?
to kind of fit in that role.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah.
Makes it easier.
And so Quentin, maybe you can kind of speak from both your perspective as a player and a DM. Like, what has your biggest challenge been?
I think it's sort of it's kind of tied in with role playing and voice acting. I think it's keeping things immersive, because I personally I want things to feel kind of like it's weird to want fantasy to be realistic, but I want things to kind of make sense. Like you don't want, like, at level 1, you don't want a party to be like average Joe 1, average Joe 2, random Joe 3, and then a literal god. You know what I mean? Like that kind of breaks the immersion when you have a literal god with you at level 1. It just feels a little weird to have that there. And I think mine is like trying to create a story and trying to create characters and NPCs that all kind of feel like they feel like they're there. And it's the same thing with role playing. I want the role playing and immersion to feel like they're what they would say in that moment. Like they're not going to be, even if I am trying to create a bright and cheery character, if they're a loved relative just recently died, they're probably not going to be bright and cheery at the moment and stuff like that. And I think it's, trying to find that balance between trying to create very interesting characters, trying to create really interesting stories, but still also trying to make it make sense. I think that's been my biggest challenge so far.
Yeah, I think, well, and I think that is like, I definitely see that. Like, you want, because it is, obviously, some people might kind of see it as like, oh, it's a fantasy world, like you should be able to do whatever you want. But I do think like it is kind of important to have like somewhat of a ground, like you kind of ground yourself a little bit, because that kind of, I think, adds to the enjoyment. Because if it's like if there's no rules, then like what's the point? You know what I mean? And so like, yeah, I can definitely see how that would be like an important thing to keep in mind. And so is that kind of like goes for you on both the DM spectrum and on the player spectrum? Because you have been a player like some in some ways, you know what I mean? In some, like, you have been a player at some points, right?
I've been a player, albeit not very long. But I will say that is mostly my DM that's talking. But as a player too, I also want my character to not be, if we're starting at level 1, I don't want my character to be like the god of all creation and be the most powerful person in the world and only have like 5 hit points.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, I for whatever reason, just now is when I noticed the capybara background, and it kind of like caught me off guard.
It's been there the whole time.
So you
that's funny.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't like focus in on it until just now. And so you were talking about gods, and I just saw a capybara.
The capybara.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay. Anyway,
He pulls up.
All right. Well, I think with that, I don't know. Like, I think that might be a good stopping point to just kind of tie things in here. But I guess like in general, like, are you got like what kind of things do you guys got going on, like, because you guys all have a D&D campaign together? Like what things do you got going on that you're excited for? If you want to kind of like briefly talk about that.
Yeah. Recently, this is a little unfortunate. Recently, I've actually kind of postponed the campaign for a little bit,
Right.
just because I've kind of had a DM burnout. But I am seeing some other people step up to the plate and try their hand at being a DM, Mr. Anthony Camacho. So that's very exciting to see what it's like to be to see one of my players be a DM. Yeah. And also there have been a few little hints I've been dropping recently that might be foreshadowing for something in the future. But yeah, I'm just excited for what the future holds.
Yeah. Well, and like I hope to see, regardless of who is like taking the DM mantle at the time, like, all of you guys continue to get together and have fun and improve your D&D experience, you know what I mean? Like that's going to be exciting to, and maybe even I could join, you know. Yeah.
Lokavir.
Yeah,
Lopeer.
Lothir could
Yeah.
return.
Lokavir.
Yeah. Yeah, that you never know. You never know what could happen with that. Yeah.
The return of Lokavir.
Look, Veer,
Yeah.
jump scare.
This is a teaser for that. Yeah. All right. Well, with that though, we're gonna end off this episode. So thank you guys for joining and talking about your D&D experiences. This has been fun. And Anthony, thank you for joining for your first ever episode. But yeah, with that, we'll see you guys on the next episode of Chit Chats.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right.
Make sure you like, subscribe, ring that bell, and as always, brother fist.
Now we do Brother Fist.
Brother fist.
Light for Anthony.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wah.